She sat alone in the dimly lit restaurant, her hands nervously tracing circles around the rim of her wine glass. The chair across from her was empty, the single candle between them flickering as if teasing her loneliness. Another failed blind date, she thought. Maybe love just wasn't meant for her. But before she could grab her purse and leave, the door burst open and a tiny voice called out across the restaurant, "My daddy's sorry he's late." Every eye turned. The little girl, no more than 6, ran toward her with the biggest smile in the world. And behind her, breathless and apologetic, came a man who looked equally shocked to see her sitting there. The story of that one unexpected meeting would change all 3 of their lives forever. She hadn't wanted to come tonight. Sophie's best friend practically begged her to give dating one last chance after 3 years of heartbreak and disappointment. Her marriage had ended in silence and tears, her trust in love shattered into pieces too small to gather. But when she looked into the mirror earlier that evening, curled hair, nervous lipstick, and a hopeful heart she didn't know she still had, she whispered, "Maybe this time will be different." The restaurant was beautiful, soft music, warm lights, and couples leaning close over shared laughter. But as the minutes passed, hope began to fade. Her date was 20 minutes late. She tried to convince herself maybe he was stuck in traffic, but deep down she knew this was another ghost story. Another reminder that people say nice things but don't always mean them. Just as she stood up to leave, that little girl appeared, her bright red shoes clicking against the floor, her curls bouncing with every step. "My daddy's sorry he's late," the girl said again, her big brown eyes full of sincerity. Sophie froze, unsure whether to laugh or kneel down. And then the man appeared, tall, slightly out of breath, his shirt sleeves rolled up, and a look of pure embarrassment on his face. "I am so sorry," he said, running a hand through his messy hair. "There was an emergency at my daughter's school, and—" "It's okay," Sophie interrupted, though her voice was softer now. She looked from him to the little girl, who had already climbed into the empty seat beside her, inspecting the breadbasket as if she owned the place. "Daddy, she's pretty," the girl whispered loudly, earning a few chuckles from nearby tables. Sophie laughed for the first time that evening. The tension melted just a little. "You have a very honest daughter," she said. He smiled, finally, and extended his hand. "I'm Ethan. And this is Mia, my very honest little boss." Dinner was nothing like Sophie had expected. It wasn't awkward or forced. Ethan was kind, funny, and real in a way she hadn't felt in years. He didn't try to impress her with fancy talk or pretend to be perfect. Instead, he told stories about burnt pancakes, bedtime tantrums, and how hard it was to braid a little girl's hair without making her cry. And Mia? She was the sunshine that kept cutting through the silence, asking Sophie about her favorite color, her favorite cartoon, and whether she liked unicorn pancakes. By the time dessert came, Sophie realized she was smiling again, really smiling. When the night ended, Ethan stood by his car, Mia asleep in his arms, and said softly, "I didn't think anyone would give me a chance once they found out I'm a single dad. So, thank you for not running." Sophie hesitated, her heart swelling with something she hadn't felt in a long time, warmth. "Maybe it's good that you were late," she whispered. "Because I think I met both of you exactly when I was supposed to." Weeks passed, and what began as an awkward blind date turned into quiet coffee mornings, laughter-filled park visits, and late-night talks about life. Mia adored Sophie, and Sophie found herself looking forward to every little call, every "come have dinner with us," every messy family moment that reminded her what love could really look like. But love stories never stay simple. Ethan's ex-wife, who had left years ago, suddenly wanted to be part of Mia's life again. It shook him to his core. Sophie watched as the confident man she'd come to love grew uncertain, afraid of losing his daughter to a world that had already taken too much from him. He began pulling away, missing calls, making excuses. One evening, Sophie went to see him, only to find him sitting on the porch, Mia asleep in his lap, tears quietly rolling down his face. "I can't lose her," he said. "And I can't drag you into this mess." Sophie knelt beside him. "Ethan," she said gently, "you don't have to fight this alone. Love isn't about waiting for things to be easy. It's about staying when things get hard." He looked at her, really looked, and in that moment, something shifted. Months later, after a long custody battle, the court ruled that Mia would stay with Ethan. As they walked out of the courtroom, Mia jumped into Sophie's arms and whispered, "Now we can be a family, right?" Ethan smiled through tears, holding them both close. "Yeah," he said softly. "Now we can." Years later, at that same restaurant where it all began, Sophie sat once more across from Ethan and Mia, now older, brighter, and still full of magic. Mia grinned as she placed 3 glasses on the table. "Remember the first time we came here?" she said. Sophie laughed. "How could I forget? You were the one who saved that blind date." Ethan reached across the table, taking Sophie's hand. "It wasn't a blind date," he said. "It was the night my daughter introduced me to the woman who changed our lives." The candle flickered again, just like it had that night, but this time, the seats weren't empty. And the love they found wasn't a coincidence. It was destiny, just running a little late.